think of ourselves as very isolated, modern individuals, and history plays almost no part at all in our perspective on ourselves.
It's kind of leading up to my next question about fear. I believe that fear is placed purposely in the news and in the world by the elite, so that it puts people in, I guess you can say, into a constant state of submission. Therefore, well, it makes it easier for them to fulfill their agendas. Like, elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, you couldn't be more right, and this is one of the subtopics of this latest talk that I'm doing as well. There's fear and anxiety. There's a constant drip feed of that through the media. As we said, there's the ancestral trauma, but then there's the constant downloading of the same ingredients which keep a man in a state of submission. And this ties back to what you were saying about going to the quotes and going to the sources, is because this information is absolutely patently in their works. When you go to the Fabian Society and these minions of the Fabian organization and their communitarian network, and when you read these ideologists and philosophers like I do, because again, it's important to notice these shadowy characters behind the obvious people's champions and read their works. In an American context, that would be the Colonel Mandel Houses, you see the Edward Bernays, the kind of the Brzezinskis, of course. So many shadowy figures, Arrow Quigley. There's a lot of people out there, Aldous Huxley from an English point of view, George Orwell, and many, many others that I mentioned in my work. They're telling you in no uncertain terms about how this dynamic works. And that without a constant drip feeding of fear and anxiety and trepidation, without wars and rumors of wars, without constantly pulling the rug from under people and always threatening them with meltdowns of various kinds, you not only keep the human creature in a state of total panic and inner trauma and anxiety, but you also make sure of something even more important. And this is what we went into in Architects of Control very deeply. And that is that you keep that person living on the surface of themselves. Because remember, we're talking about the selfless man. We're talking about the man who's completely, lost in the machinery of the world and lost in that architecture. And the way out from that is to return to who am I? The very first words that we said in the Architects of Control were those famous philosophical questions, why am I here? Who am I? Where am I going? It's very important for the controllers that people don't ask those questions. And if they ever should have those kinds of emotional, spiritual questions and quest, they've already created the religions of the world that they've put in front of you so that you'll run to them hoping to get those answers. So they've already taken care of the fact that just in case, there's a certain, you can't come, suppress that inner voice. So we'll create a big leviathan of even yet more tyrants, wolves in sheep's clothing, to give you these pseudo answers, these bogus answers, and hopefully that will pacify you. And even if they don't have that, then there's been this outer shell of New Ageism and other forms of spiritualism, you see, maybe sprinkled with some truth, just as the fact like religion also has a lot of truth in it. Mm-hmm. And this helps then for people to become waylaid. Ultimately, the real ploy is to stop a person going back to the real shrine of truth, which is their own selfhood. And so if they can get lost, spend a whole lifetime, you see, in religion and in other forms of cults, what will happen is they don't realize that they're just taking a scenic route back to the prison. It's like some hideous marathon man situation in which you think you're getting away, you're driving away, and actually the car turns around the corner and you're back into the chamber of horrors. It's just these scenic routes back into imprisonment and enslavement. But remember, the most important thing to remember, which is we talked about in the end of the DVD, Architects of Control, is that these people are absolutely delighted when you yourself walk up to the prison and go, let me in, I'm lonely, I'm lost, bang, 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 can you please give me my cell back? They're not, so much interested in going and riding you down and hunting you down. That they'll do when they feel like some sport. But they are far more adoring when a whole line of slaves, with bowl in hand, come up looking for their degrees, looking for their, home, looking for their security, because man has completely abnegated his duty to himself. And most important thing is, again, keep man so infatuated with the worldly stuff that he refuses to find out the miracle of his own existence, the miracle of his own life, the miracle of the reasons why he's here.
Hey, Michael, I have a question from the chat room. It says, let me see here. David Icke's moon matrix theory is coming out. Does some of this conspiracy theorizing hinder the truth movement and sidetrack us from the working on the self?
Well, no, because you have to get your arms around all the information. First of all, I don't really believe in a truth movement per se. I think that's sort of a myth. I don't know what that is. I know that there's a lot of bandwagon hoppers, and I know there's a lot of plagiarists, and I know there's a lot of people out there with a very small grasp on any of these facts trying to pose as if they know something because they realize that this movement is now picking up steam and so many interested parties are coming along. So just like the New Age movement got gate crashed with every kind of fake and loser and louse and pawn slime, so has the conspiracy movement now get basically gate crashed with a lot of people who really don't belong there.
Yeah.
Or who also have very, very shady agendas, or even more benignly, a very thin grasp on the facts of what we're really doing. So I haven't even been up to speed on what David's been doing recently.
Yeah, me either.
So I couldn't really comment, but I do support his work.
Definitely.
I love his work. So, but to answer your question, it's about everyone. There's nothing in this movement when it comes to the knowledge that's threatening. You have to go yourself into it and find out what works for you. I get this email, you see, like 200 times a month about, who should I listen to and where should I start and what do you think of this guy and that guy. And I always say the same thing, is like I don't ever comment, ever, on the work of other scholars or other people, unless it's actually involved in my own professional work that I maybe make an anecdote here and there. But generally, when it's in dialogue with other people or in correspondence, I do not have anything to say about any of these other scholars or other teachers. It's up to the individual to go and research my work and their work and to do the homework. There are no shortcuts, to get their arms around all the information and then decide for themselves what it is that makes sense to them. Some stuff they'll throw out and just go, look, I'm not ready for this, or this doesn't sound right, or hey, there's a factual error here, or there's a factual error there. Well, that happens even in the greatest scientific textbooks. Errors are good. Mistakes are all right. That's what helps us move on. And since this work is so much collaborative anyway, on a certain level, we're always updating and changing what we know and moving along. It's a process. As I keep saying, this work cannot be territorialized. There are no experts in it. As I said, it's early stages, so all of us are growing, all of us are learning, all of us are revising, all of us are discovering new things. It's about the spirit of adventure. It's about the spirit of realizing that the journey you're going on is as interesting, if not more interesting, than the goal that you're supposed to be reaching. And for somebody to try and sit on some high chair, you see, without a single book or DVD to their name, and then be pointing fingers and telling you that you're wrong here and you're wrong there, is absolutely the height of egomania, vanity, and absolute disrespect is what it is, because it's disrespect on the energy and the effort that people like myself put into the work. And we're not going to stop because of all of this criticism, see. So, yeah, there may be some areas that people don't relate to, or it threatens their personal belief systems, but we're not into belief systems. We're into truth. We're not into belief, or we're not into faith. We're into facts, and then we're into truth. And again, my work is almost 90% going to the horse's mouth. So it's not that me that's wrong. It's like if you don't like something, well then go to the sources of the people that I learned this from myself and take it up with them.
Yeah. What I find, because as we talked about yesterday, when we were chatting, that you read a lot, as I do too. You read a lot, and what I find fascinating is that since you're a writer, how long does it take to write a book? At least a couple of years, right?
It depends on the book. In my experience, it can be a very the writing of the book is kind of quick, but the other technical aspects of editing and layout and revising, updating, this can, of course, take them a span of many years, depending on what the book is. For instance, because of the internet, one good thing is that I don't put my appendices sections in the books anymore. I put them online. The Atlantis book had the appendices, but then what I notice is that the appendices keep swelling. A lot of stuff that you have to leave out of the book for space. Remember, when a person's writing a book, you also have to take in the technical considerations, like how thick is the book going to be, and how big is it going to be, and how much is it going to cost to mail the thing, and all of these things. So you can't just be adding constantly to the actual book in hard copy. And therefore, because it's utterly, you just can't do it. It's not logistically possible. So with the internet, the beautiful thing is all my websites feature appendices pages, so that anything that people send me, or remember, when I write a book, I just don't finish researching that subject. The book is one thing. I've continued through the years, continuing to add more to that thesis. So what I do is I put the appendices online. So if people go to the Irish Origins or the Atlantis site, or say they go to the Astrotheology site, they'll find these appendices there, and they're constantly being updated every single day with new information constantly evolving and so on.